Peace family, it's your brother YK the Truth. And this video is for the ignorant people that continue to say the transatlantic slave trade was a hoax. So this video will be going over the many idiotic claims that they make to why the slave trade never happened here in America. I had to make this video because I feel that it's a slap in the face to our ancestors to say that they didn't endure the things that they did. That's like you telling a rape victim they never was raped. So I had to make this video. Okay? So I'm going to show you a clip of a fool saying that the transatlantic slave trade is a hoax and it never happened. And he's going to go over why he believes it never happened. Then after he goes over why he believes it never happened, I will refute every single claim he made so they could stop saying that the transatlantic slave trade didn't happen. So here goes, family. Let's get it. Let's put these aborigines to bed. Let's go.
The slave ships, you know what I'm saying, that there's something about them claiming that have brought us all here on slave ships is something in which that does not mathematically equal up, because we're talking about a 3 to 4 month voyage. All right. And let's look at one ship with 200 POWs, i.e. slaves that was on the ships. You're talking about 200 to 500 in a major ship would have been about 500, all right, quote unquote, POWs or slaves on there. So we're talking about 200 to 500. So let's look at that over a 3 to 4 month voyage. I just want to know the distillation process in which that was used to transform salt water into fresh water.
Okay, so he said he want to know the process of how you turn salt water to fresh water. You didn't have to do that, fool. They didn't have to do that. Those ships carried thousands of gallons of water, and sometimes that even wasn't enough. Most times that even wasn't enough. So let's go over it. This is from a site, GeorgiaEncyclopedia.org. History and Archaeology, 1800 to 1860. Okay, family? This is the Wanderer. This is a slave ship, okay? This is a slave ship to bring enslaved people from Africa to Georgia. All right? And so let's go down and see what they carried on these ships. All right? Let's just put these pseudos to bed. Let's put these pseudos to bed. Let's get it. All right. It says, Corey returned the Wanderer to New York and oversaw its transformation from luxury yacht to rudimentary slave transport. One of the last alterations he requested was storage with the capacity to hold 15,000 gallons of water. Okay, so this was a yacht that they turned into a slave transport. And one of the main requests of this transport was to be able to store up to 15,000 gallons of water. So they didn't have to turn salt into water, you idiot. This is how I know you don't do research. This is how I know you don't do research and you don't have the proper research methodology. You just make these claims. So let's go, family. Let's keep going.
That the European had. Because we're talking about tons of water in which that would have to have been on the ships in order to give, thirst or quench the thirst of 200 to 500 so-called POWs,
right,
i.e. slaves.
Right.
And we're talking about tons of water. And you can only go without water for about a week and a half. And we're talking about 3 to 4 month voyage here. You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about, and if, as Hakeem Bey said, they would have to have, if they was defecating on themselves because they were seasick, nausea, vomiting, that's a lot to wipe up for 200 to 500 individuals. How would they be able to do this? You know, it just doesn't make any logical sense. There's something going on here with these stories.
Okay, family. So he believes that it's not logical because they was defecating and vomiting on themselves, and the conditions on those slave ships was fucked up. The conditions on those slave ships wasn't pretty. Okay, family? It was not pretty. So this is a site right here from Encyclopedia of Virginia.org, okay? And the name of this is Slave Ships in the Middle Passage. Now let's go down, family. Let's go down to show him that that ride wasn't pretty. He's saying it as if all the damn slaves who was on them slave ships survived. This is how he's making it to you. He's making it to you like every single ship that came from Africa to America, slaves was on it and no slaves died. So let me show you, family. Let's just get this shit out of here. Now here it goes. It says, crew members were often the direct recipients of the cruelty, frequently forced into the shipboard service because of debts or run-ins with the law. Sailors performed the backbreaking and often violent work of the slave ship, which included building the house and barricado, cooking and dispensing food, scrubbing the decks, and often the feces covered hole where the slaves were kept, and policing the captive Africans. They also were the victims of their officers' whips and suffered from the same diseases that ravaged the Africans. That the mortality rate among sailors, according to one survey taken between 1784 and 1790, reached higher than 21%. In fact, according to Rick Redinger, half of all Europeans who journeyed to West Africa in the 18th century, most of them seamen, died within a year. So of course it wasn't logical. Even the crew members were dying. Like, what is wrong with this dude? What is wrong with him? Let's keep reading. Crews still managed to inflict more than their share of suffering on Africans. Typical violence might include the punishment of Africans for some infraction, real or perceived, while an extreme example occurred aboard the slave ship Zong in 1781. Over several days, the crew, at the urging of the captain, bound and threw over 122 living Africans. 10 more committed suicide and 60 succumbed to disease, reducing the ship's human cargo from 470 to 278. This was done apparently because the captain feared an outbreak of disease, and his ship's owners were liable for all disease-related deaths. The ship's insurance company, however, would cover unnatural deaths, presumably from punishment, insurrection, or, for instance, being thrown alive into the sea. Okay, family? So, these Africans were thrown over because of overcrowding. So yes, it wasn't logical. But don't try and make it like the transatlantic trade never happened. This brother doesn't know that because of those conditions, acts were made. Now here's an article, all right? Now, this article can be found in JSTOR. It's new evidence on the cause of slave and crew mortality in the Atlantic slave trade. All right? Now here it goes. It says new evidence on the cause of slave and crew mortality in the Atlantic slave trade. The journals of slave ship surgeons of the 1790s are used to address questions on the relative importance of African conditions versus those on ships. Crowding, the effectiveness of the Dobbins Act. Okay? And the interaction between slave and crew health. In contrast with previous work, we find that most slaves who died did so near the middle of the voyage. Crowding was important to health and mortality, but the restrictions of the Dobbins Act did little to reduce losses. The crew was largely isolated from patterns of disease among slaves. Okay, family? So what is the Dobbin Act? Let's go over the Dobbin Act, okay? Because the Dobbin Act was created because of those conditions. It was a man named William Dobbin. William Dobbin's biographer, Nigel Aston, has argued no cause was dearer to him than the abolition of slavery, or at least the improvement of conditions for black slaves being shipped to the West Indies on the Middle Passage. Despite opposition from the merchants of Bristol and Liverpool, with Pitt's support, he successfully piloted a bill through the Commons in 1788 designed to limit the number of slaves allowed on a vessel in proportion to its tonnage. Okay? All right? Initially for the trial period of the year. Okay, family? So they created this bill, this act, because the slaves was dying and the crew members were dying. And more so, I believe that they created this act so they could save money. And they could, keep the slaves alive. They don't want more dead slaves. You know what I mean? They don't want more dead slaves. But the slave trade at that time was like the stock market. It had risk. It was a business. It was a business. And you could lose your investment. This is a fact, family. So when people say things like it wasn't logical and they have documents, you feel me? It's bullshit. So let's keep reading. Okay? Let's get it. Under the Dobbin Act, ships could carry 5 slaves for every 3 tons. Okay? 5 slaves for every 3 tons. So you can get this shit out of here. Okay, family? This is proof to you that the slave trade in the Atlantic happened. It's not a hoax. It's not a hoax. No, don't let someone blow smoke out their damn mouth. Because this is what these Moors and these Aborigines are doing. They blowing smoke out their mouth. But YK ain't playing with that. I'm telling you. Let's go. Let's get it.
Now, what we do have history on is that you get Africans and Native Americans by Dr. Jack Forbes, the professor Jack Forbes. He shows that over 300 so-called Native Americans, indigenous Aboriginals, was taken from here, from America, into England.
Yes.
And they got paintings of this.
That's the first documented,
right,
quote unquote, transatlantic slave trade. It was opposite of what's being told to, ourselves through, the miseducation system.
Come on, man. You don't got the evidence. You have paintings. We have posters. We have articles to be sold on board of the ship. Come on, man. Y'all gotta stop slapping our ancestors in the face. Negroes just arrived. Look what it says. Smallpox. Full 1/2 of the above. They saying we had smallpox in our own country. In their own country. Do you see that? How did the native Indians die? From what disease? Do you know history, brother? They died from smallpox. They damn near wiped the natives out from diseases. Where do you think those diseases came from? Them slave ships that you think is so pretty. Stop it, man. Stop slapping our ancestors in the face by saying that the slave trade never took place. The slave trade in the Transatlantic. Stop claiming someone else's culture. Okay? Stop trying to steal someone else's culture. We have our own wonderful culture in Africa. I know you don't want to be an African. I know it hates to be who you are because you want these rights. You want to be an American so bad, man. Stop it. Half you brothers can't even fish without a damn fishing license. I want to see it. If you are a Native American, and this is my challenge, if you're an Aboriginal, right? I want you to get your records and get all your genealogical records and go get you some rights. See if you get a response back. Just see if you can catch a damn striped bass without having a fishing license. Stop it, man. You're embarrassing our ancestors and you're embarrassing yourself. It's a slap in their face. And it's like the things that they went through for us. And you guys deny it? Like, who do you work for? What type of government agency do you work for? Where you come and to divide us. And we Moors, we this, we Aboriginal. Stop it, man. Everybody is laughing at you. It's so easy to make these conspiracy videos, put a little music in the background, like Dane Calloway. And speaking of Dane Calloway, let's talk about it. You said that it was impossible, right? Because you debunked Dane Calloway, brother. You said that it was impossible for those Africans to be brought here to America, right? Well, you just debunked Dane Calloway. Let's go to his website and see what he believes. He believes it's reverse, right? Let's go. Let's check it out. So this is Dane Calloway's website. It's called I'm Just Here to Make You Think Nothing. It's called I'm Just Here to Make You Think, right? So let's go down and see what Dane Calloway says. All right. It says, the truth is that black Indians were shipped from the America to Europe, right? They were then shipped from Spain to Africa as commodity for African resources. These black Indians, now mistaken as African Americans, were shipped back to America and classified as African slaves. So, even Dane Calloway and his pseudo theory says that they came from Africa to America. So even he says that it's possible for it to happen. And I call that a checkmate. You just debunked Dane Calloway. So I don't want to hear no fake Aboriginals telling me and asking me where are the slave ships, when you need to go to Dane Calloway and ask Dane Calloway where are those damn ships that brought them Africans, so-called black Indians, to America. You feel me? So it's nothing else you could say. I don't want to hear about it no more.
I ain't gonna say it no more.
They were sending captives from the Americas to Europe.
Right. And they
You know what I
also,
mean?
and they was named, and it was reclassified from Native American to Negro when they got there to Europe.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you